In the gleaming jungle of glass and concrete that is Manhattan, invisible battles are fought daily. Amid mirrored elevators and grand corridors, a silent janitor bears wisdom that no diploma can grant. When the financial market starts to tremble, the most valuable truths emerge from the most unlikely places. Some hear them in time, others do not. The mirrored elevator reflected the first rays of Manhattan's sun as Nathan Reed adjusted his Armani suit and ascended to the 32nd floor of Bloom and Carter Securities. His reflection showed a 32-year-old man with perfectly trimmed hair, a posture that conveyed confidence. The trading floor hadn't even opened yet, but he was already mentally reviewing the morning reports. In that world, arriving early meant power. The only son of Edward Reed, one of the most influential bankers on the East Coast, Nathan carried the weight of his last name as both a blessing and a curse. His father's connections opened doors, but every step was accompanied by whispers of privilege and nepotism. His office, although spacious for a broker his age, was decorated with strategically positioned diplomas and certificates, silent witnesses that he deserved to be there on his own merit. As he hurried through the gleaming hall, the soft sound of a radio caught his attention. A voice was reporting, "Rumors suggest that the CEO of Novalink Systems has started selling large amounts of personal shares. Analysts are divided on what this might mean." Nathan stopped and looked with disdain. The sound came from a man in a gray uniform, cleaning the pristine marble floor. "Jenkins, still with that little radio?" Nathan said, crossing his arms. "Are you waiting to discover the next Apple or what?" Samuel Jenkins, or Sam as everyone called him, looked up, tired but kind. The wrinkles on his 58-year-old face told stories of decades of hard work and early mornings on the subway. In his pocket, as always, was the white linen handkerchief with the initials HJ embroidered in blue. Helen Jenkins, his wife who had passed away 8 years earlier. "I just like to keep up with the news, Mr. Reed. The market talks a lot," he replied with a calm smile, returning to scrubbing the floor with precise and efficient movements. Nathan laughed loudly. "Talks too much. And you should concern yourself with cleaning properly before trying to understand the economy." Some nearby analysts chuckled quietly. Sam just nodded, returning to work. As Nathan walked away, he murmured to himself, almost like a silent prayer, "We learn more by listening than by speaking." Sam had been a fixture in the building for almost 2 decades. He arrived before everyone else at 5:30 a.m. when the financial district was still asleep. Helen had been a math teacher at a public school, and together they dreamed of a peaceful retirement. Cancer took not only his wife but also their plans. The small radio, a gift from her on his 45th birthday, had become his constant companion. On the other side of the floor, Olivia Park was meticulously organizing the day's schedule. At 29 years old, the young Korean-American had earned the respect of the executives with her impeccable efficiency and absolute discretion. Graduated in business administration, she could occupy higher positions, but her observant nature made her value the position she held, a privileged vantage point for understanding how power truly worked. Olivia glimpsed the interaction between Nathan and Sam out of the corner of her eye. She noticed how the janitor simply accepted the disparaging comment without losing his composure. It wasn't the first time she'd witnessed such scenes. On her desk, among perfectly aligned folders, there was a photo of her with her parents, immigrants who taught her that dignity didn't depend on titles. The following days brought a strange unease to the glass and steel building. The market, normally voracious but predictable, began showing signs that analysts couldn't fully decipher. Novalink Systems, a technology company with meteoric growth in recent years, was exhibiting unusual trading patterns. While the corridors of Bloom and Carter buzzed with bets and meetings, Sam continued to listen to his little radio. The more he heard about Novalink, the more he noticed a tone of warning in the commentators' voices. Something didn't sound right. The interviews with experts, the technical analyses, everything reminded him of the patterns Helen pointed out when they studied investments together at the kitchen table of their small apartment. That afternoon, while collecting the trash from the coffee room, he saw Nathan arguing with 2 colleagues about the shares of the same company. "We are increasing our position in Novalink. The fundamentals are solid, the projections are optimistic," Nathan said with conviction. "This is the time to take advantage of the small drop and buy more." Sam hesitated for a moment, then took a deep breath. His fingers touched Helen's handkerchief in his pocket as if seeking courage. "Excuse me, Mr. Reed," he began shyly. Forgive the intrusion, but I heard on the radio that Novalink's CEO has been selling his own shares for weeks. It might be good to observe this before increasing exposure. Silence took over the room. Nathan turned slowly, surprised and irritated. His eyes reflected more than indignation. There was the discomfort of someone whose authority had been questioned. Sam, you are a janitor, not a financial consultant. Let those who studied take care of what they understand, all right? Silence remained. Sam just nodded, gripping the bucket of cleaning products more tightly. Of course, Mr. Reed. I just thought I could help. When he left, Olivia, who was there making tea, looked at Nathan and said in a low voice, "Sometimes those on the outside see the whole picture better." Nathan huffed, adjusting his tie as if the comment physically bothered him. He cleans floors, Olivia. What vision could he possibly have? We have MBAs from Harvard and Stanford on this floor. If there were anything wrong, we would know. But something in Sam's tone had planted a small seed of doubt in Olivia. That night, before leaving, she walked down the hallway where Sam kept his cleaning supplies. "Mr. Jenkins, why do you think there is something wrong with Novalink?" Sam, surprised by her interest, put the mop aside and explained simply, "My wife taught me to pay attention to patterns. When executives sell their shares while publicly showing confidence, something doesn't add up. It's like the sky before a storm. It seems normal, but the birds already know what's coming." Olivia nodded, thoughtful. 3 days later, the storm broke out. Shares in Novalink Systems plummeted following the discovery of a massive accounting fraud scheme that had been disguising results for at least 6 quarters. The market value evaporated by billions of dollars in a matter of hours. The 32nd floor turned into a battleground, phones ringing non-stop, shouting contradictory orders. Within minutes, the fortune of dozens of important clients evaporated, along with the reputation of those who had recommended the investments. Nathan stared, stunned, at the free-falling charts on the screens before him. His face, usually confident, now wore the pale shade of fear. "This isn't possible," he exclaimed, running his hands through his hair in despair. They had approved audits. All the analyses pointed to solid results. Olivia approached discreetly and spoke quietly, almost as if fearing an uncomfortable truth. "Sam mentioned this, remember?" About the CEO's stock sales. Nathan felt his body go cold. The air conditioning, always perfectly adjusted to keep the environment pleasant, now seemed to blow ice onto his neck. He remembered the caretaker's calm tone, the words he had ignored. At that moment, something more than money was lost. It was pride that crumbled, collapsing like a sandcastle hit by the tide. Nathan knew that in Wall Street's ruthless culture, mistakes of this magnitude were rarely forgiven, especially when a warning had been given and ignored out of sheer arrogance. The afternoon dragged on in endless crisis meetings. Nathan had to face the board and explain why he had increased positions in Novalink just before the collapse. The words negligence and lack of due diligence were mentioned more than once. Hours later, the building was already empty, except for the few who needed to deal with the aftermath of the crisis. Nathan made his way to the ground floor, still without a tie, his jacket hanging from his shoulders like a flag of surrender. The sound of the mop echoed in the hallway, usually silent at that hour. "Sam," he called hesitantly, standing at the entrance of the corridor where the caretaker worked methodically, as if the world weren't collapsing above. The caretaker turned off the radio and leaned against the mop handle. His gaze contained no triumph or satisfaction, just calm acceptance. "Of course, Mr. Reed, how can I help you?" Nathan took a deep breath. The weight of the day, the losses, the reprimands, everything seemed concentrated on his shoulders at that moment. "I should have listened to you. I laughed off something that might have saved me." How did you know?" Sam smiled, with the serenity of someone who already understands that certain wounds teach more than books. "Sometimes the problem isn't what we don't know, it's what we think we know so surely that we don't consider other possibilities." Nathan lowered his head, unusually humble. "How did you learn so much about the financial market working as a janitor?" Sam looked at the floor, thoughtful, before answering. "My wife liked it. She was a math teacher but loved following the market. We had a small investment club, her and I. After she was gone, the radio remained as a memory of her, and maybe to remind me to keep learning, even when no one listens to what you have to say." Nathan stayed silent for a long moment. That man, invisible amid corporate luxury, seemed to carry wisdom that he, with all the diplomas hanging on the wall, had never reached. "I think I'm going to be fired tomorrow," Nathan confessed with a vulnerability that surprised himself. Sam continued his work, moving the mop in precise motions. Maybe, or perhaps it's a chance to start over in a different way. Before leaving, Nathan murmured, "Thank you, Sam, really?" The janitor simply replied, "No need to thank me, Mr. Reed, just listen more than you speak." The market and people say a lot if we have the patience to listen. Against all expectations, Nathan wasn't fired. The operations director, impressed with the honesty with which he owned up to the error rather than attempting to shift blame, decided to give him a second chance in a different position, leading a new risk analysis team. 2 weeks later, the routine resumed, but something had changed. Nathan, now at the head of a new team, opened the first meeting with an unusual gesture. The conference room was full, not just with analysts, but also administrative assistants and even support staff. Here, no one is invisible. If the janitor has something to say, I want to hear it. If the secretary has an idea, I want to hear it. No matter the position, he said, looking at Olivia, who smiled discreetly. The best lessons don't always come from the top. Nathan's transformation didn't go unnoticed. Olivia observed how he now greeted everyone by name, including the cleaning team members. How he stopped to listen, really listen, when someone spoke. At the end of the day, Sam found an envelope on the cleaning cart. Inside was a new, compact radio with digital reception and a note. "Thank you for teaching me that listening is the most valuable investment." Nathan Reed. Sam held the note for a while, feeling the texture of the paper between his fingers, wrinkled by time and cleaning products. Then he put the radio in his pocket, next to the handkerchief with Helen's initials. As the news echoed again in the now silent corridors, he whispered with a smile, as if speaking to an invisible presence. "She always said that the truth speaks quietly." And for the first time in years, he felt peace in the sound of the voices the world ignored, but which carried in their constant murmur the essential truths that so many, in their rush for success, overlooked. Months later, at a discreet ceremony recognizing years of service, Sam received a plaque for his 20 years at the company. To his surprise, the event was attended by the entire board of directors and almost everyone from the 32nd floor. Nathan was there, standing and applauding. When asked by a colleague about his presence at a tribute to a janitor, Nathan simply replied, "Some of the best financial advice I ever received came from him. And he taught me the greatest lesson of my career, that value and position are completely different things."